manhunt taking place. Police are looking for a lone gunman in Tulsa. 3 people were shot and killed and 2 injured. Investigators say it could be a hate crime. All the victims are African American and the suspected shooter is white.
As the news reports began pouring in on the morning of April 6, 2012, the citizens of Tulsa began to realize that this was not going to be an ordinary or peaceful Good Friday, but one which would test the community to the limit, revealing unhealed wounds from the past.
The most important things that as far as the course of our investigations were when we realized that we may have white suspect or suspects who were targeting African Americans.
I mean, when you have 5 shootings, 3 dead in Tulsa, in one incident really, several different crime scenes, but all connected like that, that does not happen here.
It happened April 6th, about 1:30 a.m. A couple of white guys was coming down the street, and my friend Dion got up and gave them directions, and they just started shooting at us.
We were standing on the porch, a white truck pulled up and asked me about our address. I told them it was down the street. Next thing I know, they started shooting. I get shot, I jump down off the porch and get behind my truck, and they drove off. Just that fast.
I think it was clear pretty much from the beginning that the Good Friday shootings were going to be a huge story for us. The person that worked early morning and went out and did some of the early live shots on it was like, boy, I think these things are connected.
I'd received a letter from his mother and implored me to go and speak with him. And so that Monday I went down and met with Jake at the jail and then was compelled to get involved.
People wanted me to classify this as a hate crime. And I think people need to realize we don't put a lot of importance on calling it a hate crime when we have a murder.
And if the motivation is, you know, I hate all gay people, I hate all black people, I hate whatever, that's something that a judge or a jury can take into account in deciding to assess a more severe sentence. That's perfectly legitimate. But a hate-based murder, first-degree murder, versus a non-hate-based first-degree murder, what's the difference? It's a first-degree murder.
Well, I think nationally, they were very quick to say hate crime. Here in Tulsa, it seemed like everyone was afraid to say it. Because anytime you interject race into a conversation, whether it's legitimate or not, there's going to be people who deny it.
Race does matter. It must matter because we're still dealing with it. We still see race as an issue, especially in violent situations like this that reverberate all the way back to 1921.
North Tulsa is still struggling to recover from damage inflicted over 90 years ago. The Good Friday shooters were quickly identified and apprehended, a stark contrast to the collusion between the media and police in 1921. Yet as the year began, Black Wall Street seemed as far away from danger as possible.
It was a time when black folks enjoyed prosperity. They enjoyed each other. It was a self-contained area. Whatever you needed was found on Greenwood. All of it was on Black Wall Street. So it was really a vibrant, growing community, doing great things, and self-contained but doing well.
Greenwood here is our Wall Street. Yeah, we live like we're Wall Street. A lot of folks was the oil city then, and a lot of folks come in from New York and Chicago, and we had a big time here on Greenwood. We was all right for a while. We was all right for a while.
The big what if in my mind is if the race riot had not occurred. Clearly by destroying Black Wall Street, you were drying up the source of capital. So these people weren't able to fulfill the ambitions that they had set out to fulfill. And the fires of the race riot may have destroyed a lot more than just people's dreams.
You throw into this combustible mixture a tolerance of lynching, a tolerance of denying civil liberties to a group of people because of the pigment in their skin. So you get a violent society, young males looking for a wild time on a Saturday night away from those watching eyes of the community and civil behavior. You throw all of this together with this racism, and on May 31st, 1921, it erupts.
I mean, when you have 10,000 African Americans, 500 businesses, 1,500 homes destroyed within a span of, less than 24 hours. When you have machine guns that are being put on top of buildings and people are running out of the buildings and, their heads are blown off.
I was very upset because they came through the backyard with those big pine things lighted, the kinds of things that they set fires with, and they burned my doll clothes first. Grandma had made my doll beautiful clothes and they were hanging on the clothesline. And to see them burn my doll clothes was my real first encounter with real prejudice, because my parents hadn't told me that there were people who hated other people because of the color of their skin.
It's almost like it happened 10 years ago instead of more than 90 years ago. And so I think because of that, because of the stigma that's attached to that, you go down on Greenwood, it's never really fully recovered, and so that way it's top of mind.
It's not a riot, it really is ethnic cleansing. Here we have document evidence record that here are the people: Otis Clark, Wes Young, Dr. Olivia Hooker, John Hope Franklin. They have never, ever, ever had their day in court.
Regrettably, we're the only community to have had a genocide, to have brought it to that scale. There's a lot that, as a community, we have to reconcile before we really can truly go forward.
We should care what happened 90 years ago because we are doomed if we don't learn from our past.
In 1921, the headlines were controlled by a select few. Today, social media has changed the information landscape so dramatically that covering up a hate crime would be impossible.
But the media in Tulsa already know this exists. This racism exists. So it shouldn't be no big thing to them. But it's a big thing to them because they see everybody else jumping on it. So they got to get their little part in. But they used to this. This ain't new.
But the fact that you called it a hate crime, that was a huge deal, and that's what lit up so many of our phone lines. That's what clogged up our website, is just people talking about that.
When it comes to reporting crimes, yes, there is a bias. I can say that unequivocally because when I did it, I saw the bias, and I talked about that bias.
Are you trying to get me fired? Do I have to answer it?
You don't have to answer anything.
Okay.
The impact of the media may increase racial tensions and fears within a community like Tulsa, fueling America's racial divide.
It created a firestorm around the world because of the press attention. Everybody was saying, Tulsa? 21st century? Whites killing blacks? Why should that happen? And it happened because we still have a racial divide.
Local and national media did a fair job in the coverage of the Good Friday shootings, mainly because they were able to get to the root of the problem here in Tulsa.
And you can just feel it. You can cut the tension literally with a knife. All you have to do is go to the north side of Tulsa and you see it.
After 90 years, the need for an open and honest conversation about racial inequality has never been more important for the Tulsa community, the state, and perhaps the nation.